how important is user experience for the web today? I feel like user experience has really matured as a practice in the last few years. I think it's really come a long way from the early days of the web, when I think things were driven much more by, if you were working for a company, sort of internal business objectives or requirements in a sort of IT sense. I think what people have started to learn with the web is that the user is really in control of the experience, and that you really have to anticipate the user's needs and expectations, and that really the only way you can do that for the most part is to really spend time with them and try to understand people's behavior, their attitudes, their expectations. It doesn't mean asking people what they want, because people don't necessarily know what they want, but it does mean observing what they do, trying to anticipate what they're likely to do. Very strong engineering culture, a very experimental culture, and it's a company that's really willing to try new things and fail often. So we do a lot of small experiments and sort of expect that most of them won't work. And that culture really existed before I came. I've been there for about a year and a half. There was a layer of insight that was missing that we might be able to see what people were doing, but we didn't understand why, or how they felt about what had happened. Were we fulfilling their expectations, meeting them where they were? And so what we've been trying to do in the last year is build a practice to integrate more ongoing qualitative one-on-one interviews. So we're constantly bringing people in, buyers and sellers, in for one-on-one interviews where we really try to look for deeper insights about what people expect and what they want. And then we find that that gives us a way to sort of complement the behavioral data that we see. So, put two different versions of a design out and then see which one performs better. So we do a lot of measurement in terms of business outcomes, like the conversion rates of the shopping cart, that sort of thing. We also look, of course, being an e-commerce site, where in a way it's an easy job. The question is, what's the difference between the classic web and the mobile web? I would add another dimension to that, which is apps. So one thing we're seeing is that we find that actually our apps are our best performing products. Like, they really seem to have, and it may be because they capture the most loyal, most engaged users, but they really work a lot better in a lot of ways. The mobile web is trickier. It's a more challenging set of design constraints, especially when you have a lot of rich photography and stories you're trying to share with people. You have to really focus the interaction in a much more direct way. One thing we've seen at Etsy is people often, it's very easy to think about the web experience or the mobile experience, but for a lot of our users, it's really a cross-platform experience. And what we often see is that people will use a mobile when they're in sort of a casual browsing mode. They're trying to maybe get some ideas, or maybe they're just trying to spend some, they have some time to fill, and so they'll just spend some time looking around. But we find that when people really, especially if they're making a bigger purchase, they tend to then shift to the web when they're in what we call decision mode. Like, they've kind of got some ideas, and now they'll be ready to actually really think about this purchase, and then they kind of want that fuller experience. So we try to think about how those two experiences can actually complement each other.